Tanzania is located in Africa, eastern part of Africa. Many people think Africa is one country, but there are 54 countries, and Tanzania is a union between the mainland Tanzania and small islands called Zanzibar. You might know this country as the land of Kilimanjaro, the snow-capped highest freestanding mountain in the world. It's also known as land of Serengeti, where you find the largest migratory animals in the world. Millions of these animals cross the river, which is full of crocodile, and crocodile making parties during that particular time. But the story doesn't end there. The animals are there enjoying the nature because the country is considered to be the leading country in the continent in terms of conservation. Tanzania, I say, land of Kilimanjaro, Zanzibar, and Serengeti. This is Zanzibar, an iconic island known as Beautiful Island of Africa, which has a sad story because it was a gateway for the slave trade. But this is the past. Now people go there to enjoy the beaches and enjoy the life in this continent. I grew up in the village in southern part of Tanzania, in a district that was underprivileged by 8% of the land being big plantation during the colonial time. And in order to have people to work in that place, the first thing, you don't need to put a school, because having schools, people will understand what they are doing and you are likely to lose labor. So I grew up working hard at school, but understanding that the chance to go to higher education was a dream. I grew up without knowledge that there is something so-called university or higher education. By being in such area in the village that was surrounded by mountains, the forests, and the rivers, with a low population, with few families, so with very little interaction between children from different families. So the only you can do is to spend time in the nature. I was good at that. The area surrounding my village was in my head, such that I could know which tree is where, which insect prefer what type of tree, which birds will put nests where, and so things, including the small mammals, rodents, and other insects. I think that was not a disadvantage, because after going to school, I have ended up doing things which I was doing when I was a little boy. Tanzania is among the 30 countries in the world which are highly affected by the disease called tuberculosis. Some of you may have heard about the disease, but not really encountered or understand how big this problem is. The bacteria that causes tuberculosis is considered to be the most genius among all bacteria. It kills more people than what HIV does. Why it is considered most genius? Out of 100 people who may come into contact with this pathogen, 90 of them may contain this pathogen throughout their lifetime, because it is clever enough that it keeps watching your body protection system, just like a thief when he wants to get into a house. If you do some alert, the thief will not show up, can hide until when it's sure that probably you are totally asleep. So it is not the same. That's why you can live with it, and those who the immune system goes down develop the disease and contribute to 1.6 million people who are dying from this disease annually. Majority of the death occurs in Africa, particularly sub-Saharan Africa. The greener the country is labeled indicates the magnitude of the problem. And the areas where you see the gray, there is no data. Southeast Asia is also affected, southern part of America and Eastern European. This disease, for over 150 years since it was discovered by Robert Koch, have been diagnosed using a microscope. You take the mucus part that comes from the lung, you paint it with a color and observe under this tool. The ability of this tool to find the disease correctly out of 100 truly infected individuals can only find 20. If you work hard, you can get not more than 60. To an extent that over half of people who go for TB diagnosis in hospitals are not being detected, are left walking free in the street, spreading the disease, dying, and actually contributing to poverty, because when one family member gets sick, then it affects the whole family. So we think poverty is contributed by this disease. If the disease can be combated, the likelihood of having a happy world can be high. There are methods which are more sophisticated and used in the most developed countries, but they are not sustainable in resource-constrained countries. We have methods which are looking for presence of the DNA, or methods that are looking for the growth. You put the sputum in a media like a food that is used to grow the bacteria, and you observe growth of the bacteria. These methods are not feasible. The results take long, up to 8 weeks to say it is negative. With these 8 weeks, if you are sick, you are likely to die. We need a solution. This is a problem. Now you might say, Tanzanian girl who was suffering from a known disease, her mother took her to the hospital to try to find out what could be the problem. The hospital had no answer. They went home, she continued night sweating, losing weight, coughing, unhappy, and just living abnormal life. She was taken again to the hospital. Nothing was found. The third time, she went to the hospital. They thought probably she had pneumonia, so she was put on treatment for pneumonia. There was no response. There are many of these in Tanzania and other countries that are badly affected by the disease. To diagnose tuberculosis in children is more difficult because they cannot produce the good quality mucus substance from the lung, which is used to find the pathogens. The same case occurs for people living with HIV who cannot cough deeper to get something deep from their lung. So the disease becomes difficult to an extent that around 74% of the deaths occurs in our region. This is a huge problem. In late 90s, Apopo, a Belgian NGO, in partnership with Sokoine University of Agriculture, where I work, they started a project to train the African giant poached rat to find landmine. They are called giant poached rats. They are of the size of a cat, with pouches which, when they eat, they don't swallow. They put on the pouches and they will eat later. They are smart rodents which have a tendency of collecting things and putting into their nest. The nest could be divided into 3 parts: a toilet, a storage, and a place where they are sleeping. There you can find old money, everything that they can steal from your house. This species in particular, we say is a docile species. It is capable of living within human surrounding in the world and is not fearful when they see a human. Unlike other species which you live or people live in the same house, but they differ in time. When you are sleeping, that's when they become owners of the house. When you wake up, they go to the hiding. So it's a species which is found across Africa, and in Morogoro you can see on the background of the university you have the Uruguru Mountains, which forms the Eastern Arc Mountain, which is a part of the 25 biodiversity hotspots in the world. So we can catch them there and train them in the school that we have. A rat like Carolina represents others which are trained for the task that we are sharing today. The training starts when the baby rat starts opening eyes. The steps involves getting it used to human, obeying a command, finding the target, and being rewarded upon correct indication of the target which it has been trained. A fully trained rat, unaccredited, after going through the school, the rat school curriculum or syllabus, yes, it is. You start with the kindergarten, you pass, go to a next class until when you graduate. It's a similar thing. The only difference that they don't read the syllabus. The syllabus is being read by the rat trainer. So it's a school just like the school we have. A fully trained, accredited rat can make a decision or can diagnose or can find a TB in less than 1 second. It will go through a sample. If it is negative, within a second, it picks the smell, makes an interpretation, and it will go to a next until when it finds a position where there is a smell of tuberculosis that they have been trained to work on. If it lands in that particular point, it will stick a nose for around 3 seconds, waiting yet the response from the trainer. In the setup, we put positive control consisting of sputum from a patient who is having tuberculosis. We do this to continue reinforcing the behavior because it eats according to how it works. So it's just like we are working and getting something at the end of the month. If we could get that salary in January for the full year, I doubt if the attendance at work will continue to be normal. In 20 minutes, this rat can find 100 samples. This is amount of sample can be evaluated for the whole week by a person in the hospital. So with this technology, we are able to find more people at a relatively shorter period of time, and patients could start treatment much earlier. The technology is not yet endorsed. It is still operational research, but the results are helping thousands of people. I went on to find out which these rats are finding actually, to be more confident that when we say you have TB, then we know what it is. The bacteria which causes tuberculosis is called Mycobacteria tuberculosis. It has brothers and sisters in totality around 130. On its own, it produces 26 smells. Out of the 26, 13 are shared by its brothers and sisters. Like we are human beings, if we bring a lion here and blind the lion, we'll understand that there are human beings here. But if we bring you a dog, it will understand that there are human beings, but the owner is present or not present. So there is a common smell of individuals and specific smell that can be due to the lifestyle. So the causative agent of TB have its own smell, and the smell which is related to the relatives. These rats are capable of distinguishing the exact pathogen that causes TB from its relatives. They go for a combination of 6 smell, which will give the same smell like what they find in the sputum. This was a good evidence for us to be confident with the work that I'm doing. I'll show you a video that shows how this rat, a graduate rat, performs. Please watch the time taken by this rat from one point to another and what it will do when it goes to a point where there is a positive signal, that is the smell that is from TB. They are clean, they always clean their whiskers, tail. That is negative, negative, negative. There is something there. A clicker is heard for the rat to go to get a reward. This continues until the sample which are available for the particular time is completed. Samples which are indicated by the rat, but we do not know the status, these will go for confirmation before results are sent to the hospital for the patients to start treatment. I have said the technology is not yet endorsed, so we have to confirm with endorsed tests so that patients can get correct treatment. Naima was among the patients who were negative in the hospital tools, but detected by these rats. She started medication. It takes 6 months, taking tablets every day for 6 months. If it is TB that is susceptible to the medication, you can have tuberculosis which is resistant to the available drugs. And that can take you up to 2 years taking medication every day. It's a huge burden. Fortunately, Naima got cured. She's now a happy girl. Her life is normal. Her attendance to school is normal. She represents over 14,000 patients who have been found by this rat, who were otherwise missed by the system in the hospital. This is a huge contribution, considering that if you are misdiagnosed by this, whatever diagnostic test in the hospital, you can die all continue spreading the disease to your brothers, to your sisters, to your schoolmates, to your workmate, to the community that you are living. So we think this technology has the potential to help address the TB problem, not only in Africa, globally, considering that the disease is transmitted by air, and we don't have filters between those whom we think are prone to the disease. We share the same air, so we should share the same efforts to combat this disease. The technology has been replicated in Mozambique and recently in Ethiopia. I think should be adopted in other parts of the world to address the problem. Thank you very much.